sidetracked from what the real issue is. We need to use and know that the unconscious mind, as soon as we start talking about the problem, will give us clues about what we need to work on and what we need to work with, compared to what is just conscious conclusion of what our client thinks we need to hear. This is known as the root problem or the root cause in therapeutic language or hypnotherapy language. Being that the root cause is what's keeping that smoking or keeping the addiction or keeping the phobia existing, and it's hidden somewhere in the unconscious mind. Now, the whole time the unconscious mind is trying to work on this, it gets interrupted by us as human beings and our conscious mind trying to fix it consciously. So when our client comes in, they're going to give us a lot of conscious information that we can pretty much discard because it's of no use to us. And occasionally, through spotting unconscious moments, we're going to hear or see the unconscious mind in action. Now, this does take a lot of practice to do, and hopefully throughout the demonstrations, you'll get a clear example of what I mean by this. Now, the easiest way to look at this from the start when you're first learning this is if we were going to discard conscious information and hold on to unconscious information, what would be the difference? Well, for spotting unconscious moments, conscious information tends to have no unconscious moments, meaning that we ask our client a question and they give us an answer straight off the top of their head. There's no thinking, there's no emotion, there's nothing attached to it. It's the same conversation they would probably have with their loved ones or their friends. However, unconscious information tends to take a little bit more thinking. It takes a little bit more time for a client to ponder and give you an answer, meaning that they're going into what's called the unconscious search. Now, what tends to happen is this. The conscious mind can only deal with so much information at one time before it becomes overloaded. That's why we've used repetition to overload the conscious mind with repetition and information so it goes offline and allows the unconscious mind to rise and come out and express itself. We've looked at this already with the induction and obviously more to come as well. So while we're overloading the conscious mind, when the conscious mind gets so overloaded or gets so caught in the question or can't try to figure out how to answer with normal language, the unconscious mind must express itself. It tends to express itself with more metaphors, more stories, more umming and ahhing, more unconscious insights. It's almost like the penny drops or the light bulb moment comes on. These unconscious insights happen from the unconscious search. Now, let me give you an example of how this sounds, and hopefully you'll be able to hear this in the demonstration as well, depending on where the demonstrations go. Let's take Joe again, and let's say I was using more the advanced understanding. I wanted to spot these unconscious moments. When I'm using the hypnotic interview, I'm on the hunt for these moments. So if I'm getting information back from Joe that has no unconscious moments, I'm going to discard what he says. If, however, he gives me something that is jam-packed full of emotion, I'm going to keep going down that track per se. So let's look at Joe again. I say to Joe, so what are we here for today? Joe says, well, I want to quit smoking. I say, well, so what's so important? Well, Scott, I'm spending so much money per week and I've actually started to dip into my savings and my savings for my mortgage to pay off my mortgage, and I just don't want to live this life anymore. So he's giving me a bit more clarification on the whys and hows he wants to smoke. Okay. So from here, I might ask Joe another question. Say, well, okay, so if you're spending all this money on cigarettes, what's so important about paying off your mortgage more quickly? And Joe does something like this. Well, and he goes into a little bit of silence and he starts to really ponder my question. He starts to really think. Now, with this thinking, I'm on clear and concisive action to look for unconscious moments. I might start to see the eyes start to blink a little bit more. I see him maybe looking around the room. He's umming and ahhing. This is the unconscious search in action. And as a matter of fact, and this is key here, by Joe thinking about the answer, not just giving one off the top of his head, by really pondering the question, Joe is actually going into a hypnotic trance, believe it or not. Now, this is key. From the hypnotic interview, you're asking Joe a question. Now, you won't know what these questions are. You won't know when this unconscious moment's going to happen, as you'll hear from the demonstrations. You just have to be on search for them. If Joe's going through this unconscious search of thinking and umming and ahhing, and he really can't quite come up with a question, he has to go into a small trance, meaning that the conscious mind can't answer it, so the unconscious mind has to go into action. And Joe's actually gone into a bit of a trance to find out the information that is kept in the unconscious mind. So if Joe's in a little bit of a trance, knowing that I can use these unconscious moments, and I'm on the hunt to make sure Joe goes into an unconscious moment. Whatever the answer Joe comes up with from this unconscious search is going to be pure unconscious information. And that's the information I need. That's the information I need to investigate. I need to drop everything else that Joe was talking about, this conscious information, this conscious fluff that Joe tells everyone about smoking, why he can't quit and his issues with it and this. But when Joe really thinks about something and puts a lot of effort into thinking and comes up with an answer like this, it says, well, I just feel like I'm losing control of my life. And I can see Joe getting emotionally invested in it. I hear the way Joe expresses it. His tone changed. He looks at me with a lot of pain in his eyes. I know right there that is the real issue he wants to work on, and that's the outcome he's looking for. This means I can discard a lot of what Joe tells me, and I need to keep tracking on those unconscious moments. Now, if I discard what he's just given me that is pure unconscious expression, I could get lost in Joe's conscious thinking again. The reason Joe's sitting in front of me is because his conscious thinking is keeping him stuck.